And I'll tell you what those three questions were for me in 94 and 95 when I pivoted from asking not so empowering questions to incredibly empowering questions, and what that shift was. As a matter of fact, let's just go over it right now. Now let me paint the frame for you. 1994, there I am, trading time for money, selling computers, loving the fact that I'm working with technology and helping people, recognize I hit the ceiling on how much I could make, and it wasn't enough. I mean, as one person, I had a couple technicians at the time, it just wasn't enough. And that's when I walked in, if you remember that story, if you ever heard me tell it, walked into our building after delivering a computer to a nice older lady. Came walking in the building, I was a little upset because I was recognizing that she had talked me down a little bit in the price because she was on a budget and so on. And I'd made like $50. And I'm like, this is not any way I'm going to get to scale so I can do bigger and grander things with my life. I wasn't trying to be greedy. I just wanted to say, if I'm going to live into the legacy that my grandparents gave, then I need to free up some time to do contribution type things. Does that all make sense? And I come stomping up the stairs, and Ed Aiken, the owner of our building, we leased an office in it, sitting there. It's about 4:30. He cracks a beer every day. And he says, hey, Char. And I look around, I'm like, hey, Ed. And he noticed right away I was in a good energy place. And he challenged me to think bigger. He talked about his business model with insurance and how customers come in, they pay a premium every quarter, every half year, every year. And he just makes sure they're taken care of. And that sparked my interest, thought in subscription income. At the time, I didn't know it was subscription income. I just thought about it as recurring revenue, right? Just rebill. What can I possibly create that people pay over and over and over again? Again, this was in the 90s. It's not like the Netflix generation. And then I started to ask better questions. Like, what could I create that subscription revenue that helps people have a better life experience? I'm going to say that again if you want to write that one down. What can I create that creates recurring revenue that helps people have a better life experience? Boy, if that isn't what our mastery community and a lot of our members in the mastery community are doing with their subscription programs, I don't know what is, right? So that question alone, just that question alone, pivoted my thought. And I remember thinking, oh, well, the World Wide Web is gaining popularity, and a lot of my bulletin board system members are asking, hey, Char, are you going to bring in local internet so I don't have to make a long-distance phone call to get on this internet? Now, they really didn't know about the web yet. What they were looking for was a local phone number for AOL. Remember, this was in the 90s. At that time, they wanted to be able to access America Online through local calls. A couple people would come in, they'd be like, a $400 phone bill just last month, because I was getting on AOL through a long-distance number. And what they didn't recognize, and I had to train them a little bit, was that if I brought in internet, you could connect to the internet through our service and then fire up your AOL icon and fire up the AOL program, and it would connect through the internet and therefore alleviate that $400 phone bill per month. What we didn't know was that the World Wide Web was going to take off like it did. Kind of felt like something was coming, but we had no idea. Remember, this was at the beginning of all that. And so that whole thing started to unroll. Coming back to my point, bringing local internet access is a recurring situation, recurring payment. Saves people money, gives people a better life experience out of this small farming town that I lived in, Howell, Michigan. And it got them into that whole realm. Didn't know that it was going to take off like it did. We just celebrated over this last weekend my 20-year anniversary of selling that business and being able to retire at the age of 29 in October 10th of 2000. And I just want to celebrate that a little bit with you. That was amazing. I took the day to just reflect, go to the beach, walk, enjoy, get some real good eats, just be so grateful and thankful. The reason I'm here right now is because I made that pivot around those questions in 1994 and 1995. And beyond that, and this is what I really want to make sure it lands for you, is, and I talk about it right here, I had to get courageous and I had to take decisive action. I remember August 1st of 1995 was my birthday, and I was at the courthouse signing the papers for the new company name. And I was recognizing that I had about $3,000 in savings, and I needed about 40 to start this thing off, and I had no idea how we were going to do it, but I knew that this needed to be done. It was the scariest moment in my life. If you were to ask me a power question like, Char, what was the scariest moment of your life, and what did you learn from it? It would have been that. I learned, the scariest moment of my life was signing the paperwork, trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And what I learned from it is anything is possible. Anything is possible. And if you go after your dreams, not always, but most often, at least for me and the people I've talked with, the universe will respond if they're aligned with who you are at your core. Does that all make sense? So I know I'm throwing a lot at you as we come out of the gate here. We haven't got to the board yet, but this is some of the things that I want to make sure you're thinking about. So I'm going to say this question one more time, these 3 questions. Because if you just stopped watching or stopped, going through the rest of our training today, these things would be ways to 10x the quality of your life and maybe even 10x your business, just like it did for me. If I knew the exact date and time of my death, what would change about how I'm approaching my life right now? If I was going to live a life fully lived, what would change? What will it take to 10x this? Or what would it take to 10x this? Does that all make sense?